contract isn't the problem. The problem is what it hides. We spent the last few years hearing that Jose Berrios was the machine, the guy you hand the ball to and forget about the world for 6 or 7 innings. But now, with the 2026 market heating up and the looking at the like it's a clearance buffet, the conversation has changed. The proposal floating around behind the scenes, the one the folks that reportedly put on the table, is the kind that makes you lose sleep. Berrios, our $131 million all-star, packing his bag for Georgia. In return, and let's pause for a second here, because if you're a fan of your first instinct is to laugh or cry. Dodd is a left-handed depth arm with a 3.60 ERA. Braun is a right-handed depth prospect. That's it? That's what an elite innings eater is worth these days? Or does the front office in Toronto know something the rest of us still haven't noticed? The situation in Atlanta borders on desperation. Their injuries are well documented. And even with the expected returns of end, the Braves' rotation feels like a house of cards in the middle of a hurricane. They need stability. They need Berrios. But what bothers me, what really keeps me uneasy, is why on earth the Blue Jays would consider moving a guy who guarantees 30 starts a year for 2 names that, let's be honest, would probably struggle to crack the rotation on a serious postseason team. Some people say the Jays might not even have room for him in the starting rotation. Think about the gravity of that sentence. We're talking about a pitcher who has delivered more than 165 innings in 7 straight seasons. 7. That's not luck. That's genetic durability. But in 2025, the ERA climbed to 4.17. Strikeouts dropped to 138. The machine started making some strange noises in the engine, and that $131 million contract still has $66 million hanging on it through 2028. So let me ask you, the fan spending hard-earned money in the 500 level, are we selling high or waving the white flag? Because yes, Dylan Dodd posted that 3.60 ERA. It looks nice on paper, but he's not a high-leverage guy. He's not the pitcher you put on the mound against in the Bronx with the bases loaded in the 8th inning. He's a bullpen innings eater, maybe an emergency 5th starter. Trading Berrios so that feels less like a baseball strategy and more like a payroll cleanup disguised as a roster restructure. But what if the real issue isn't Berrios' performance? Hold on, because there's a detail here that changes everything. Recently listed Berrios as the 6th most likely player to be traded in all of MLB. When your name starts appearing on lists like that, the clubhouse atmosphere changes. Players feel it. There's also a strong rumor that Berrios might be unhappy. And an unhappy Jose Berrios, carrying a massive contract and declining numbers, is basically a ticking time bomb in the Canadian payroll. If the Braves bring this offer in April or May, the Jays front office will have to decide whether they want the prestige of keeping an all-star or the financial flexibility to pursue someone who actually wants to be here. Because we all know how things work in Toronto. Fan pressure is enormous, and patience runs thin for players who look like they're just punching the clock while the paycheck clears. Berrios survived that nightmare 2022 season with a 5.23 ERA. He bounced back. He showed resilience. He rebuilt confidence in 2023 and 2024. But 2025 left a bitter taste. The fastball doesn't look as alive. The curveball, once a nightmare for hitters, is starting to hang in the middle of the zone a little too often. The Braves don't want him to be their ace. They already have arms for that. They want him as a 3rd or 4th starter. Someone they know will take the mound every 5 days. No drama. No surprises. But for us, what's left? Lucas Braun is a gamble. Dodd is a maybe. That's not much for a pitcher who, despite everything, can still dominate when he's on. The front office logic seems simple. Let's unload that $66 million before it turns into dead weight. But baseball isn't played only on Excel spreadsheets. If you trade Berrios and one of your starters blows out an elbow in the first week of June, the season could collapse instantly. We have this love-hate relationship with Jose. He's emotional. He brings energy. At times, he feels like the heartbeat of the team. But baseball is a cold business, and the market is clearly signaling that his value is melting. So if the Braves are willing to absorb that contract, are they doing us a favor or robbing us in broad daylight? The truth is this trade smells like fear. Fear from Atlanta of running out of pitchers. Fear from Toronto of being stuck with a long-term contract for a player who might already be past his physical peak. It's a convenience trade, not a talent trade. Dodd might have a solid ERA, but he doesn't have the it factor. He's not the guy who makes a crowd in Toronto rise to its feet. The technical analysis is clear. The risk isn't the talent. It's the consistency. The 3.60 ERA version of Berrios is worth every penny. The 4.17 ERA version with declining strikeouts is a luxury problem the Blue Jays might not be able to afford anymore. But here's the detail almost nobody is talking about. If this trade happens and Berrios lands in Atlanta, breathes National League air again, and suddenly posts all-star numbers, how does the GM in Toronto explain that? We've seen that movie before. Players leave Toronto and suddenly flourish somewhere else because the pressure here becomes unbearable or because the development system failed to fix a small mechanical detail. Dodd and Braun are replacement pieces. Berrios is a foundation piece. You don't trade a foundation for a couple of fresh bricks unless the entire structure is about to collapse. And that's what worries me the most about the current state of the pitching staff. If the front office believes Berrios is expendable, what do they know about the rest of the rotation that we haven't discovered yet? The price is steep. $66 million is a lot of money for a team that still needs to reinforce the bullpen and keep the lineup competitive. But the cost of losing a reliable arm might be even higher. If the Jays accept this Braves package, the message is clear. 2026 isn't about winning now. It's about surviving financially and trying again later. And I'm not sure the fan base in Toronto is ready to hear that again. At the end of the day, baseball is a game of bets. Atlanta is betting Berrios still has something left in the tank. Toronto is betting Dylan Dodd can be a cheap, useful arm while they clean up the payroll. But let me ask you something. Do you really trust that trading 170 guaranteed innings for a left-handed depth arm will get this team to the playoffs? Or are we just watching the beginning of the end of an era that promised a lot and delivered far too little? The conversation is on the table. The contract is there. Atlanta's interest is real. Now it's up to the Blue Jays to decide whether they want to be protagonists or just a team that helps everyone else become champions. So tell me in the comments, if you had the pen in your hand, what would you do? Keep Berrios and hope the machine still has life in it? Or send him to Atlanta and pray that Dylan Dodd doesn't become just another name on the long list of disappointments? I want to know if you still believe in Jose, or if those $131 million already feel a little too heavy. Baseball